you are gone. And on that note, I'm going to bring up Mary Jane Charles. Hi, Mary Jane, and welcome to
Hello.
the show.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you very much for having me here today.
You are quite welcome. So, Mary Jane, you're getting ready to talk about a subject that I know a lot of people probably don't want to face, but we all have to face this eventually. And I'm sure you're going to give some great advice on what to do and what not to do.
Well, out the gate, my story is sad, but more importantly, um, it's a call to action. My husband had been sick and he didn't go to a doctor. He liked Dr. Google. So if someone you know out there likes Dr. Google, don't do that. You leave everybody else wondering. They can see you're not feeling well and you get angry when they ask. And ay, ay, ay. So no one needs that. So if you would do that for me, just go see a doctor. But out the gate, he died suddenly, literally in the car seat next to me. He had not been well. I knew he was growing weak. I had the medical directive, and he would not fill it in. He was frightened. He was afraid of something. So here, that particular day, early in the morning, I knew we were going to his partner, meet his partner someplace. And it occurred to me, I had the medical directive and I had my phone. I said, if I read it to you, will you shake your head or nod? And I can get it that way. And he said yes. And that's how I got it. And it was on my phone. Never in a million years did I dream I would be asked for his medical directive. Only 4.5 hours later, he collapsed. He was brought to the hospital. And the ER doc came out to me in his scrubs and said, this is when I need his papers. I said, I don't have his papers, but I have my phone. And he looked at me. I gave him the video. He was shocked, but he was thrilled because he could see his patient only a few hours earlier. He did take it to, I'm sure, the business office or whomever to make sure it was legit, and it held up. So no further medical assistance was given to my husband. And that's how medical directives work. Otherwise, they get into all the machines and do what they need to do, because that's what they're for. That's what they do. And all I can say is, first of all, to get your own, it's free, it's online. Do get one for the state you live in, even if you had one from another state. You don't want any glitches in the moment. Well, that's not from Connecticut, we're from Arizona. Forget, you want it up to date and you want it for your state, because time is precious and it could mean someone's life. So that's the tip. That's where it all started. And then you got to attorneys, and then you got to funerals. And well, I was hauled into an attorney office the day after this all went down. My stepson brought me in. I didn't know this man, and he didn't know me. He could not get my name straight. So I don't know what else anybody else was talking about, but your brain is not working 100%, period. And then you're hauled into what is relatively very important meeting with some man I did not know. And so halfway through, I just said, thank you for your time. I'm ending the meeting. They were appalled. They meaning the eldest son, his brother-in-law. I don't know why he was even there. And this man, I said, there will be another meeting, but not till after the funeral. So if you find yourself thrown into an abyss and things are whirling around you, take control. No one is going to correct you. You're the spouse or the eldest or whatever your charges in life, and everybody's looking to you for answers, and there aren't any because there were no papers, nothing, not a partnership paper, And I learned later, not even a tax return.
Oh my. Wow.
So just step into it calmly, make it your own, and watch a couple of good movies so you can literally copy the demeanor of an attorney. Make it your own. A friend of mine, her husband called, said, Mary Jane, you've got this. And I thought he was just being nice to Mary Jane. But he meant it. He said, no one's going to correct you. Just do it, whatever it may be. Make it your own.
Mhm.
So I can now say, out of all of this, I looked at all the piles on my dining room table, financial and real estate and medical and who knows what. And I decided they were chapters. And I wrote a book, Surviving the Business of Dying, Why Final Papers Matter.
Mhm.
And it's just a list. It's just a conversation. We leave lists for pet sitters and house sitters, babysitters. This is the list of details that run your everyday nitty-gritty life so that, God forbid, you slip on a leaf in the driveway. And those things do happen where you can't speak for yourself. Leave detailed instructions so the person who picks up literally where you left off knows where the veterinarian is, knows the branch you bank in and with whom to speak, knows how to pay the light bills, can transfer the monies monthly so that your automatic payments are made or your automatic deposits. You don't want to sit there for weeks and wonder, how does this occur if you're not privy to somebody's business information? My friends liked the book. It won an award 2 years later in the International Book Fest. They said, nice book, Mary Jane, but I still don't know where to begin. So I created a workbook. Looks like this. It's bigger. It's 8.5 by 11, and it's yellow. And I did that so we can find it when we need it. You
Well,
don't.
Mary Jane, let me ask you a question about your book. And
Yes,
first, let me acknowledge we do have one viewer. I just want to say hi. Thank you for watching. I'm not sure who you are because we don't see your name in the comments. If you could put your name in the comments and let us know where you're watching us from. You could put your city, your state, or if you're watching from LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you're joining us from, that would be appreciated. And Mary Jane is talking about what detailed instructions. I have a will. So that's what we're talking about today. And I know that, as I said earlier, that people don't really want to talk about this subject, but it needs to be talked about. Now, Mary Jane, I want to ask you. You showed your book in your workbook. What inspired you to write this book? And I think you touched on it a little bit, but if you could just go into more details.
sure.
Mhm.
I had a huge amount of, we got through the funeral. That was no small thing by itself. Um, I can say with confidence, anyone will help you, whether you are a person of faith or not. There are a lot of people out there, any faith, you name it. There are people who run the mosque, there are people who run the temple or the church, and there are always church ladies. And they do this. They get the flowers, they get the food. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. Just make that known, and they take care of you. The book came about because I needed some place to put all the stuff that was in my brain. I had too many things floating around emotionally, of course, and then to be inundated with this stuff. Um, so I started keeping notes. I've worked many jobs as office managers in HR. I knew keep copious notes, put dates, put people's names, the reason you called, keep like a diary, but really keep detailed journal type notes because you don't know when or who will tap you on the shoulder. So I had that going on anyway. After the funeral and a month and a half into finally finding an attorney, I had, because there was no will, I had to gain the designation of the state of Washington probate court that I was in fact the personal representative for this man. The fact I was married to him had nothing to do with it. You need a legal document saying that. So that was one area. And then I started writing. And writing has always been with me through life, but this was different, of course. And I kept good notes, and I organized them like 4 months later, then 6 months later, and I realized I had a book. And I called my sister, and I said, this is what this is. She was cheering me on, of course. I still didn't know what I was doing. It took 18 months to settle a very small estate, but it had the money amount was just above what they call the threshold of whether or not you need to go to probate. We needed to go to probate. And so, and then another attorney. And once this whole process was finished, it was 18 months from the day he died. And I had already rewritten the book and dialed it in with Amazon. So the way I did this was I finished the book, the estate closed, I paid the estate taxes, finished everything with the estate under my former name. Once that was done, I had my name changed to my own name, and I published my book under my name. And that all took place in 6 weeks. And it was exceedingly liberating. Legally, emotionally, it still takes lots of time, of course. But the book was cathartic for me. So if you have something that is just a ping pong ball in your head, sit down and start writing. You don't have to do an outline or anything right away. I did not. The book was all over the place. And then you sit down 3 months later and it folds in. You know what to rearrange, what to rewrite, how to re-explain something, and you have your baby right in front of you.
Right. Well, you sent me the book and you sent me the workbook, and both books are great, especially the workbook, because it gives you a chance to sit down and write all that information down.
Yes.
With you and your significant other, your husband, your significant, whatever, if you have any expenses tied in together, I would say that's something that you need to know about the other person, their social security number, where they kept their insurance papers. You need to know all that information, and the workbook helps you get all that information written down. So when something like that does happen, you don't have to go scrambling, looking for things and being lost, like you went through that situation. Now, Mary Jane, what would be the top 3 things that someone can do today to avoid some of what you went through?
Number 1 is the medical directive. It takes 5 minutes to do. Just print it out, fill it in, and each member of your family over the age of 18 should have one. First responders and people joining the service of any kind, they are, that's one of the first things they're given. So get a medical directive, and it's not intended to be private. This is what the first responders take with them to the hospital. So you want to keep one in your night table, your glove compartment, maybe in a freezer bag on the side of the freezer. Because if you slip and you can't speak for yourself, at least a neighbor or a husband or a cousin, someone will know she's got a medical directive. And you want to take it and put it on you as you go to the hospital. The EMTs are basically a taxi, and they take their instructions from the hospital directly. If they can say, we have a medical directive right here, they know already that's been taken care of. Again,
I don't mean to cut you off, but what exactly is a medical directive? Because I'm not sure, and there might be some other people who are not sure. Is it like a power of attorney?
No, it is an instructional. The medical power of attorney is another piece of paper, and I'm not an attorney. The medical directive is the, excuse me, I'm blanking here. It's similar to a health power of attorney. It gives your name, and it asks a few mild questions. It's all about, do you want to be connected to machines at whatever point in
Oh,
the hospital? It's a life extension. So it's a medical life will. The life estate is there's another name, and I'm tripping over it, obviously. But it's the interim. You do need one. Don't leave somebody, well, he never said that to me before. Well, no, he didn't discuss it with anybody, But I did know he did not want any extended life. Well, I luckily had the video. It wasn't based on what Mary Jane said. I asked the question, and the doctor could witness his answer right there. So getting back to the top 3 things, medical directive is absolute. Put 5 names of people you want called when you cannot speak for yourself. We all have people in our phones, but I don't know anybody's phone number. I don't know about you. Put them in one place. Put it under ICE for in case of emergency. And a partner or a spouse. An attorney if you have one. A doctor if you know their phone call. She's en route to St. Francis, whatever the hospital is. And if you can, when you can build on these over time, have someone out of state. I mean, we've all had national emergencies. Pardon me. And so it's good to have a contact out of state. If the local towers go down or whatever, at least someone outside of California or New York knows that you're okay. So that would be that. Another one to think about, and I mentioned this in my book, is co-signers. If you cannot speak or sign a document, to already have a co-signer in place allows you to move money, pay bills, go grocery shopping. You cannot tell everybody you have co-signers, but if somebody goes to your branch at the B of A and speaks with Mary Jane, I'm here for Deborah Northcott. Oh, yes, we love Deborah. Well, she slipped the other day. And she speaks of you all the time. So that huge bridge is just smooth as can be, and they verify whoever you've named, and the world continues. There's no stop in the money flow. So that's enormous. That's called a cosigner. And you can, have 1 or 2 of them and just let them know the branch and with whom to speak. Aside from that, start reading topics like caregiving. Many people slip into the role of caregiving and don't realize they're exhausted or stretched or getting sick themselves, that in fact they are caregiving. So in that mode, or if you see somebody who is becoming a caregiver, make them aware that it's okay to take care of themselves before they get exhausted or angry. I'm the only one around and no one else. And they're right, probably. But let them know they're not alone. It's enormous. So that's a matter of reading and easy articles. Another, I know, I wrote it down, is journaling. If someone keeps journals from a lifetime, I have lots of journals, respect their privacy. If they can't speak for themselves, you will need to go through things of theirs, whether it's in their office or their dresser. If you bump into something as private as a journal, that is not for you to read. Just you found very private things, and they're not in a safe. They probably should be, maybe. But just respect the person's realm.
I agree. Well, how did you approach managing the financial aspects of your husband's funeral without any predetermined or predefined instructions?
I was very fortunate in that among my positions in life, I had worked at Citicorp personal investment management. So I was not I was an office manager, but I learned about the documents and knew what needed to be required of somebody should they die and need their account closed. So these accounts, even there was nobody was a Rockefeller, but they were in different accounts. I quickly caught on that a brother-in-law had access to the bank on the other side of things. Huge institutions like Bank of America, they have private banking and they have investment banking. And they're not the same thing, but they can have mutual clients or the same type of client. Anyway, I didn't pay any attention to him, but I did come across someone in networking who worked on the other side of that bank. And I made contact with him. And I said, can we get these switched to your side? Because I'm pitching and I don't need anybody from me. I just wanted to know I was the only one in the conversation. I did offer it to whoever else was in the meeting with that attorney. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? No, I don't want to do it. So that made it really clear for me. And then find someone you trust who knows what they're doing. And
that's a big one.
Keep your eye on them, because that gentleman did a very good job. But it turned out, he wanted the business, which is what he's in business for. And he's Mary Jane, let's take your share and we'll invest it. And I just almost fell off my chair. We were on the phone. I said, I don't know what my share is. And I was like, you have got to be kidding. He said, well, I've done this a long time. I said, no, there will be no sharing right now. And I made that short. It came back after everything was settled. He wanted to know why I had pulled the money from him. And I said, had I done what you wanted, it would have opened up such a craziness that I was doing before anything was settled, according to the probate court of the state of Washington. So if it sounds too good, don't do it. Just sit and wait till you hear from the attorney or the judge. You will be included, but nobody else, not even a banker, has the authority to tell you what to do with the money. It's not yours.
Oh, so you're saying that the money that your husband left behind when he died suddenly, that was not yours to do anything with?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
There were no, if your name is on the document as a beneficiary, then you're fine. But if your name is not on a document, it's not yours. It goes into, so in my case, he died intestate. That means there is no will, which means there is no executor. And so that's why I had to go through the process of being appointed a personal representative. As the personal representative, I have what they call the fiduciary responsibility. The court has given me the responsibility to be honest, loyal, and in good faith. Anything I do is on behalf of the estate, not on behalf of Mary Jane or the nice little boy on the left. The judge, the court, and me. And that's. I just sailed with it. I understood it. I think I had all the holy cows after it was all said and done.
Yeah. It sounds like you went through a lot of eye-opening. You found out a lot of eye-opening experiences from the situation, things that you weren't expecting. Let's put it that way.
Right. And so all that training, we try to instill in little people, that's not yours, give it back. Nope, it's not yours to share. Give it back. This is where it comes to play.
Wow.
You're not allowed to touch a thing. And you open up, so he had, 2 or 3 checking accounts, whatever else he had. That goes into a single pot called the estate account. And you get your withdrawal. You have to prove to the bank, whatever bank it's in, that this is where it's going. You have to show the opened estate account papers from that bank. And I had a big poster board I'm good visually. So I'm like, here's the bank. And we've got this coming in and this coming in and this coming in. And I kept all the receipts here. Never throw out a receipt, not even the dollar store. All the
Oh my
receipts.
gosh.
You will be reimbursed. So those are receipts on behalf of the estate.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to pay the funeral home and you have to pay the florist and etc. I mean, people sit there and all you're doing is writing checks. And but unless you have the cash available,
Mm-hmm.
you can't touch anything in the estate. And then it goes through, and the attorney, I did hire an attorney. Do not look at them as an expense. It's an investment because you can get in over your head very fast.
Oh yeah.
And you just need to know, okay, that's it. I can't do this. And I went through 3 attorneys, 2 of whom were women. And I really said, come on, girls, get it together. I mean, they could not close the deal. So then I did find a 3rd attorney, and after him, he was still not on my top 10 list, but I was exhausted and did not want to start all over again with someone else. It finally ended, and I didn't pay his last bill because I pointed out 3 mistakes he made to him, and he was mortified to the degree that he had me sign an affidavit that I would not come after him.
Oh my. Wow.
Yes. So when you don't have a crisis and after all this, and you're thinking, holy smokes, just know, as I state in my books, less than a third the way through, everything you just read, you can avoid. Just write it down. Go make a friend with someone who knows an attorney. See if you like them. If you don't like them, for instance, if they don't take the time to learn your name, keep walking. There are a lot of attorneys. And
You're right.
And remember, they will work for you. You don't have to kneel down and kiss anyone's ring here. They're very...
You're right, because they're not the only one out there. You can, like you said, if they're not the right person for you, just fire them and find someone else who is the right person, the right attorney for you, because they're like a dime a dozen.
Yeah, especially you want a probate or an estate attorney. Excuse me, I have a 6-month-old kitten who is not yet trained, so that's what's...
I seen your kitten back there taking up running across the back of your whatever that is in the background. But he just wants some attention.
98. I was kind. I brought him inside because it was too hot. But anyway, my grandfather and I used to play cards, and he'd say, shuffle the deck and then cut the deck. And that's what you're doing. You can shuffle, you go pick, and then cut the deck. And just let them all know that you might not have done this before, but you're not a pushover.
Right.
And you will get through. Just keep breathing.
Sure you
and
will.
No question is too small.
Or too silly.
One more point.
Sure.
There are always very interested parties, whether they're related to you or not. How's that going? How are you going to do this? They will drive you crazy. Just hold up your hand like a good street officer and say, stop, I'll get back to you. And you can govern that phrase, body language, tone. It's a good thing to have in your back pocket because they'll come make you crazy. So then they go back under their rocks.
I'm sure. Well, Mary Jane, do you have any more tips for us? If you don't have any more tips, I'm going to close the show.
Okay.
Do you have any more tips for us?
I do, but they're all in here. And there are things in here you haven't thought of. And it's intended to make it light, and it opens conversations. There are great conversations in here. And so the main point, just do it for yourself. And if your partner or somebody is like, oh my God, what are you doing now? Just leave it on the table. Curiosity is a good thing. And they'll calm down and, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And it goes on from there. It's not scary.
Okay.
But do it.
That's a good thing to know because, it's a lot, when you're planning a funeral, especially when it's someone close to you, like your husband, your mother, your parents, somebody like that. You're grieving, and then you have to, you know, go through all this information and getting all this, the funeral and the flowers and the whatever else you have to do,
Yeah.
to go through that. So you're right. You just need to just keep breathing because you will get through it, and it helps. I see where your book comes in so handy because if you have all this information, that'll be a lot less stress, that you
Oh,
have to go through. A
it's
lot less
huge.
stress.
Somebody asks you a question, you're like, hold that thought. Oh, that's on page 21. And it says
Hmm.
right here. And the beauty of this is it's in your hand. I didn't
Right,
write it for you, you wrote it in. And
right.
importance in here, you can change things, of course, it belongs to you. Initial it and date it every time you change something.
Okay.
So there's absolutely no question.
Right. And that makes it legal when you initial it and date it. Now, do
Yeah,
you need to have this what's the word? Uh what are those people that
notarized.
notarize? That's what I'm looking for.
I think you could, certainly, it wouldn't hurt. It's not
Mhm.
required. It started out as almost like a notebook, but more and more, especially when I do a second edition, it could easily be used like a primer for a will. You can buy it and use it to collect your thoughts because it has a lot of details that the will does not. The will does not cover what branch you bank, where you bank, and nitty gritty things. So it
Uh,
could be an adjunct to the will. And in that case, my own self, I would have it notarized that it came from you.
okay. That's good to know. Well, Mary Jane, thank you for all your great information. Now, how can people stay in contact with you?
I put my information in the chat. Um, everything worked, the links work. I'm also having a group class in uh, August on, and I don't have the dates, but that will be up and posted on my website by next week.
Okay,
And
great.
it's a 2-day class, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, and it guarantees that you will finish your workbook at the end.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So that way they can't procrastinate and say,
That's right.
and
Yeah,
say they didn't get a chance to finish it.
that's it. We're going to plow through, and everybody gets a free digital copy of the workbook, and you have no excuses.
Right. Digital copy. That's great. You don't have to worry about losing your book or anything or
That's
misplacing
right.
it.
I left my book home. No, not going to work.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you, Mary Jane. I put your link here in the comments for people to sign up for your calendar for a talk with you. It looks like it's your calendar link here. So that's in the comments for anyone who wants to sign up and have a talk with Mary Jane.
Yes,
So
please do.
go ahead. So, on that note, Mary Jane, I'm going to say thank you again very much for joining us today and sharing so graciously. It's been great. I mean, this is information that everyone needs to know. So, I'm Deborah Northcutt, your speaker support concierge, and thanks for joining us on the Spectacular Speakers Lounge show. Now, remember to download your free guide at bit.ly/5 places to speak. And that's the number 5 and not 5, FIVE. And make sure that you sign up on Mary Jane's calendar to have a talk with her. So thanks again, everyone. And I will see you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Bye for now.
Bye.